Hello everyone and welcome. It's a little hot today, so I'm going to fan myself a little bit. It's Sunday and I've got some viewer mail. So I thought I would just answer some questions. Now normally I do these type of response to question videos on my Taisha Jason channel. So head over there and I actually have a whole playlist called Responses. But these people sent these emails to Myargonauts, this channel, and I figured they're more likely to see the response here. So I'm going to go ahead and throw them up. Some of them are questions I get asked quite a bit. I may or may not have answered them in the past. As you guys know, 300 plus videos, so even I lose track of some of the stuff that I probably talked about. So the first question I'll answer is from somebody that was 16 and he lives in the UK. I think that means he has about a year left of school, what I would consider high school, and then he wants to go to university. So he emailed me saying, you know, I won't be able to be a JET until, say, 2015. Will there still be a JET program? And we talked a little bit about this whole topic over on the JapanJuku forums. So if you're interested in this topic, there's lots of links over there to articles, etc., written by JETs, written by Japanese people. Basically what's happened is the current ruling Japanese government, which is not the LDP for the first time in a long time, has had these informal sessions where they're reviewing what the government spends money on. And obviously one of the things they spend money on is the JET program. So, you know, there are arguments for it and against it. And, you know, taxpayers, should we have to spend and subsidize this program? It's been going 20 plus years. Has it been effective, etc., etc. I think there is a lot of popular support for the JET program amongst Japanese politicians, especially ones that have ties to America, because the majority of JETs are American. And they see it, obviously, beyond the teaching thing, they see it as, you know, positive internationalization. And I think that, you know, it is the Japan exchange and teaching program. And I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. Has it gone down? Is the number of JETs accepted each year going down? Are boards of educations in towns going elsewhere to find their ALTs? Yes. That's all very true, but I think in 2015 there will still be a JET program. So go to uni, study hard, take some Japanese, and yes, hopefully you too will be able to be a JET in, say, 5 years. Okay, now on to the next email. It was from Liam, and he of course prefaces it with, I'm just going to ask you a question or two, and then proceeds to ask me 10 questions. Which is fine, and usually, if you guys know, I'm pretty good about responding. So I'm going to go over a few of his, and it looks like from his questions that he doesn't really understand the JET program and the fact that I went to Japan as a JET. So he has a lot of questions about moving to Japan, and, you know, obviously he just needs to look at some of the videos, and some of those answers will come. So the first thing is he asks is about visas. Can I go to Japan and get a job without a university degree? And as I've told you guys so many times, I get this question still at least probably once a week. No, you cannot get a job in Japan without a university degree unless you want to be like a bartender or work in a, you know, at Tokyo Disneyland, I don't know, singing or you have some weird special talent. To get any kind of teaching job at any reputable location other than doing private tutoring, you have to have a 4-year, what I would call a 4-year college degree, and I'm not going to go into it all over again, but yeah, to get that visa, you get a 90-day visa when you first go, and you can certainly look around for jobs, but my guess is that you won't find anything that's going to help you sustain a lifestyle in Japan without that degree. What made you want to move to Japan? I think I've talked about this, but I get asked this question a lot, and it is something, you know, all of you that want to move to Japan, especially for JET, need to think about. There's the answer, of course, that you'll write in your essay, and then maybe answer that you will tell people when they ask you, because Japanese people will ask you, why did you want to come here? Basically, for me, I went back to school later in life. I was in my 30s to finish my degree at UCSD. And I was minoring in Japanese studies. I've just always been fascinated with Japan. I read a novel called Shogun by James Clavell when I was a wee lad, And I've just always been interested, had thought about Japan, the JET program and being an ALT way back in the early 90s because, I graduated high school in 1987. But it didn't work out. Was in a long-term relationship, which ended in 2003. So I was kind of feeling like I needed a change in my life. I was going to graduate from university in 2004 and probably just become a high school history teacher and go through the steps necessary to get my credential. But they had a campus visit from JET and I went to the information session in like October of 2003. So, a little bit before I was going to graduate the next year, and the application was due in November, and I scrambled around and got it, and I guess you could say the rest is history. I made it in, and I went for 5 years. And I'm really happy that I did. Awesome decision on my part. Loved every minute of it. I hear some bad things about the Japanese people in relation to how they treat foreigners. I've gone over this many times. I've never had a bad situation with a foreigner simply because a Japanese person simply because I was a foreigner. Can you speak Japanese? Could you speak Japanese before you went? Skoshi. Nihongo benkyou shimashita ga mada heita desu. I used that phrase a lot when I was in Japan. I took it for a year in college. So I had the basics. I knew katakana, I knew hiragana, I knew basic greetings, I knew basic grammar. But it still kicks your ass when you go there to live 24/7. How much would you need in order to live there for a few months only? Basic rent, food, travel. Well, when I tell people when they want to go on vacation to Japan, say for 2 or 3 weeks, I say $100 a day is a good benchmark to be able to travel comfortably, stay in decent hotels, eat decent food, pay for sightseeing, $100 a day. So say $2,000 for 3 weeks. And that's probably more than a lot of you have or would want to spend on a 3-week vacation. But obviously you can live if that would be finding somewhere cheap to stay, and I would think you would need to then get some kind of job, something to replenish your funds. Can you recommend a type of accommodation that grants privacy for a cheap enough price? Youth hostels oftentimes are very good in Japan. You can get private rooms. I'm thinking of one that I stayed at one time in Hiroshima. With your own bathroom. You don't have to go down the hall and use an onsen or use a shared toilet. So yeah, there's often Japanese style accommodations where you're lying on a futon on tatami in a room. You can still have a private room at least that way, and then maybe you do have to share a bathroom or something. So there are plenty of options like that. Just get a Lonely Planet or one of those rough guide type travel guides, and they'll tell you all those ins and outs. Did you do a lot of research before you moved, etc., or did you just pack and go? See, this is where I'm talking about. He didn't really quite understand the JET program. But yes, I did a lot of research, as much as I could in 2004 with what we had on the internet then. I recommend that you all do the same. Don't just ask me. There's Google. Use the internet, find out things, answer your own questions. Did you move out to Japan alone? Again, I was with JET. I had to live alone. How long did it take you to pick up your Japanese? It takes a while. You have to study once you get there. It doesn't just come. I've said that many times. Do you need to know any Japanese prior to teaching the children? Certainly it would help, but you don't use it in class for the most part. You don't need to know any Japanese to apply for the JET program. Okay, and then the last question, because I think I'm running out of time, was from... Let's see if he puts a name in his email. He doesn't. So many of you write me emails and don't put your real name. At least give me your first name if you're going to write me an email so I know who you are. So I'm not just saying your weird screen name or unintelligible or unpronounceable screen name. But anyway, okay, well this person, he just emailed me on August 8th. And he asked me, he's getting a PhD in music and he wants to teach in Japan. He wants to teach in regular schools. Yeah, there's plenty of websites where if you have higher degrees, like a master's or, this guy has PhD, you can get work, especially at universities. It would help if you speak some Japanese. It would help